Mothers can now take their babies for shots of measles, BCG, and oral polio vaccines, which are now available in most district hospitals across the country. Now, for months, babies were turned away from vaccination because of a nationwide shortage and the uncertainty brought on by the lack of finances, which were faced by the Ministry of Health in purchasing drugs. Now, a number of health facilities since last Friday throughout the weekend have been taking stocks of vaccines which were procured by the ministry. Now, we will be touching base with some health directors to understand how the situation is now. But here is Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, announcing the arrival of vaccines at their various facilities for onward submission to the district.
The first batch of the vaccines just arrived, and we have doses in BCG, oral polio vaccine, and then the measles vaccine. They just arrived with the accessories, the syringes, safety boxes, they've all just arrived. And so immediately they are being dispatched to the regions, and then latest by Monday, vaccination will start across the country. We want to use this opportunity to assure all mothers that there will be enough vaccines for everybody. There's no rush. They should come and get the vaccine as they are due. So this is the 3 out of the 10 vaccines. We normally have 10 vaccines that are used for 13 diseases across Ghana. 3 of them were in short supply. That is the OPV, BCG, and the measles rubella vaccine. We have received quantities of the 3 to complement what we are doing. And this is the first batch that arrived. We are hoping that the rest will come in very soon. We are moving all the supplies to the regions and the facilities, and so by Monday morning, there will be vaccines available for those who need it. The doses that are available is enough for at least a minimum of 6 weeks across the country, whilst the others are brought in. So we have enough doses to cover our need for the next 6 weeks. We are moving to the cold room, and the regional cold vans are waiting to pick them up and quickly send them to the regions and to the facilities, so that by Monday, as I said, we would start vaccinating all. These new vaccines are just going to help us do a catch-up to make sure that by the end of the year, all children who are supposed to be vaccinated are vaccinated. And so, even though there's a delay for vaccination, the most important thing is that you will take them as and when they come. If you can't take them before the due date for the next booster, but the days after still doesn't really affect the immunity that's supposed to provide for you. And we also have heard rumors of people parading around with vaccines. Vaccines are not sold in the shops. They are not sold on the tabletop. So they have to be careful that people are not bringing in vaccines that are not of good quality. We have vaccines across the country now, and everybody should relax. Go to their point of care, and they will be all vaccinated.
So let's go to the regions now and find out what's happening. Let's start from the Volta region, where the Regional Health Director, Dr. Senanu Jokoto, joins live with more. Doc, I'm grateful that you could join us here. How many vaccines have you received, and what number of babies are you expecting to vaccinate?
Good morning to you and your listeners. We've received oral polio vaccines. We've also received vaccines for measles, yellow fever, and BCG as well, that's for meningitis. As soon as the vaccines touched ground in Accra, our Director General gave the order that we should all be at hand immediately to take it and distribute it to the various districts. So this morning, the exercise is ongoing, and we hope that all facilities within the region will get their vaccines.
Doc, sorry, we would want to hear you better. So if you could speak up a bit for us, we would appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you and your listeners. Like I mentioned, the Director General gave us an order to ensure that all our cold vans are in Accra on Saturday so that immediately the vaccine starts building in the country, we are able to take it and distribute it to the rest of the regions. So we did exactly the same, and the process is ongoing in the Volta region. We are hoping that sometime during the day, all the facilities will have vaccines. So we've received vaccines that will be adequate enough to do the catch-up vaccination and also last us for the next 6 weeks. We are made to understand, and we believe so, that within the next couple of weeks, we'll get vaccines in adequate supply to take care of the rest of the year.
So, as we speak, have we begun immunizing some children who needed the vaccines but couldn't because of the shortage?
We are telling them that by close of day, we should have all the vaccines in the various facilities. So today I've engaged quite a number of radio stations in the Volta region, and we've engaged our system that latest tomorrow morning, everybody who requires the vaccine should have it available.
Okay. So the numbers that we have in, how educated are they to ensure that we're able to give to every child that needs it?
We know the needs for the various districts, and we know the gaps, and we distributed it accordingly. So we know that at least for the next 4 to 6 weeks, we are in the position to provide the services that required.
All right. Grateful to Dr. Kojo for joining us here. He is
Thank you very much.
Volta Regional Health Director. Let's now move to the Northern Region, where my colleague Martina Bugri is joining us. She's been monitoring the exercise in that part of the region and joins us with more. Martina, grateful. What can you tell us about the arrival of vaccines in the Northern Region? Okay, so we'll be touching base with Martina so we can understand whether or not the northern part of the country have also received their vaccines. The Director General makes us aware that every region is by today, should have access to these vaccines. We just heard there that the Volta Region Director confirming that they have received this. We'll be getting there later to tell you more about now. Let's come down to the Greater Accra region, where my colleague Hannah Odami has been visiting some health facilities for update. Hannah, where have you been to and what can you report? All right, so let's get some update from Martina now. Martina now joins us. Martina, what's the update? What do we know about vaccines arriving in the northern part of the country?
Yes, the vaccines, I'm told, arrived yesterday, and they have been received by the Ghana Health Service. But details of that is yet to be given to the media. I spoke with the acting regional director of health service this morning. He confirmed that they have received the vaccines and that they will take the stock this morning, and details of what they have received will be shared amongst us.
Aside speaking to the regional director, have you heard anything from the district to check whether or not they've also received them?
Yes, so I spoke to some people in the district. I'm told that they are yet to. They have sent people to come to the region for their share of the vaccines that have come in, but they are yet to get back to them. And so it means that they haven't started the distribution yet as we speak. But we are told that likely today they will start the distribution. But I've also been told that cases continue to pour in, and isolation center, if they want to actually accommodate people or admit people, they may not be able to contain the numbers. So what they are doing is they are treating people, and those that are not too serious, they are asking them to go home.
Which means that if there should be any vaccination at all, we should expect that would start tomorrow on Wednesday.
From what I checked, that's possible.
All right, Martina, grateful to you. Let's bring you to the Greater Accra region, where Hannah Odami has been visiting some health facilities for update. Hannah, where have you been to and what have you observed? Hannah, you've been touring some health facilities within the Greater Accra region to ascertain the latest on these vaccines. Where have you been to and what can you report?
I am touring currently at the Adabaka Polyclinic where I have seen some mothers bringing their children to be vaccinated. And the excitement on their faces alone tells us they are very, very happy. The public health nurse here tells me that since lots of them are not aware, they may not be coming. But he was shocked to see that this morning a lot of them have stood here already and they are excited. And so she's actually urging all of them to come over because the vaccines are now in. I asked her whether she has all the vaccines that were not seen previously, and she said that they are all in. And I'm going to talk to her right now. She's Patricia. Hello, Patricia. You earlier said that a lot of parents have been here. What exactly would you also want to tell them? A lot of parents have been here already.
Actually, I'll urge the parents try their best to look into any public facilities that are around, hospitals that are around. Since the vaccines are in, we are excited so that they'll be able to take the immunizations to protect their kids.
And she's also saying that there's the greater effect, as we have heard a lot of doctors say already, there's greater effect if you do not get your child vaccinated. And so now that they are in, just come over. It's not too late to any health facility and get your child immunized. All the vaccines, I have seen them here. All the vaccines, she says, are in, and I have also seen them.
What have parents been telling you once you said that they are wearing some smiles on their faces? Have they been telling you anything?
So they were actually grateful to government, but then they said they don't want to experience this ever again because then the agitation and the anxiety that they felt within the period which they did not have the vaccine for their child was not good at all. One of them who didn't want to go on record told me that the last time she had a vaccine for her child was a year ago. And she's been coming here all the time for the second one. I really do not remember the name of that vaccine. But she'll be coming here for the second batch of that vaccination. And she was told the child that there was no vaccine. And so she was very afraid because she was told that the effect of this was the child easily contracted tuberculosis. Thankfully, for 1 year now, the child has not contracted. And so she quickly came here when she heard that the vaccines were in. And so they are telling and urging government that they do not ever want to experience this again. Another parent also told me that all she was told was that there was no syringe. The vaccines were in, but there was no syringe. She was shocked. The whole country does not have syringe, but then now today, all of them are in. And so, as we heard the public health nurse said earlier, we do every vaccine is in, and so the parents just come over and get their children vaccinated so that they do not have the complications associated with not having these vaccines.
All right, that's good news there. Thank you so much, Hannah Odame. So that's by way of vaccine availability in some health facilities. So moving on to some other stories now. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali has expressed worry over the low performance of municipal and district assemblies in the region on the performance contract ranking. Now, the region placed 15th out of 16 regions last year in the country, which the minister described as a collective failure and a wake-up call. JoyNews' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The Upper West Regional Coordinating Council late last year trolled on social and mainstream media here for placing 15th out of 16 regional coordinating councils in the country. Residents of the region expressed their anger on duty bearers for the region's poll showing. To improve service delivery at the local level, government in 2015 started the implementation of performance contract as a strategy to enhance service delivery and ensuring that management of the assemblies are tasked to delivering some basic services. 8 years after implementing the performance contract, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali expressed worry over the low performance of municipal and district assemblies in the region, describing their performance as a collective failure and a wake-up call.
In the 2021 annual performance evaluation results, the Upper West region ranked 15th out of the 16 regions. The poor performance is largely attributed to the lack of commitment and compliance with report submission from the region's 11 MMDAs. So our failure is a shared responsibility and a wake-up call to all gathered here today. This, therefore, calls for an institutional arrangement that will challenge the key players in the local government system to live up to their role in the service, in the delivery of their mandate as enshrined in the Local Governance Act 936 of 2016.
Dr. Binsali noted that the performance contracts serve as a blueprint for the assemblies and opined that any assembly that is able to meet the terms of the performance contract can easily sail through any performance measurement system.
The overall goal of this performance contract is not to find faults with local government staff, but to enable district assemblies to meet their targets through improved performance and service delivery to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I expect many of us to be agents of change locally. The many reforms introduced in the local government system should inject efficiency and effectiveness and introduce alternative approaches to achieving the roadmap to transforming our local economies. I have found that we can make these reforms more effective if the various actors show commitment to the conditions of the contract. I therefore wish to urge you to show commitment to whatever you are doing, since the beneficiaries are the very citizens that employ us to serve.
The minister concluded with his advice for the MDCEs in the region.
I would like to renew my appeal to MMDCEs to provide the political commitment and ensure that the required resources are made available to the staff for the execution of the planned programs and projects of the assemblies as contained in their annual action plans and these performance contracts that we are signing today.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, some companies under government's flagship program 1D1F say they may not be able to pay back the money Exim Bank gave them to put up the factories because the bank reneged on its promise to them. Now, government, through the Exim Bank, supported some local companies with some funds to either set up factories or re-energize existing factories as part of its industrialization agenda. Beneficiaries, however, say repayment is impossible because government has starved them of funds. Now, here are excerpts of our hotline documentary, One District, Some Factories.
If management was made aware that Exim Bank was not going to give us the money upon completion to operate the factory, there was no way we would spend our last peso to commission the project. If you look at the activity leading towards the commissioning, we needed to pave the area, and that cost us a lot of money. That money could have gone into sales, because we don't need to pave our factory before we sell product. But we needed to complete the factory and put it in a shape that is reasonable. Everyone knows that.
Ebenezer Obin-Bafo is the Chief Executive Officer of Casa de Europa. Petersfield and Rail Limited is a manufacturing company under the One District, One Factory, established in 2018. It was established to produce high-quality natural fruit juice.
Electricity came to disconnect just this afternoon. I had to go into my own resources to go and pay for them to reconnect the electricity. I don't know if now I'm in a dilemma as to fold up or not. It can happen soon, it can happen anytime from now.
But it appears all is not well with the factory. Today, the processing plants have been shut. The factory is eerily quiet. Power to the plant had been disconnected on the day of my visit.
Payment has been demanded long ago. It's more than 2-3 years now. But anytime they came, I told them there were problems that we need to solve before making profits. And that is to be difficult to pay.
The shutdown of the factories has had a huge consequence on employment in the operational areas of the companies.
When the factory was working, I could use my monthly earnings to support the upkeep of my family. I was even able to use my salary to support my grandchild's senior high school education. If the situation now existed before, I'm not sure I could have supported my grandchild's education.
Adwa Nomaba is one of the 130 people who were dismissed by Casa Drupa Company Limited. Today, she has no job.
The man has never defaulted in paying our monthly salaries, but now he owes us more than 3 months. This is not how it used to be in the past. When the factory had not been supported by government, things were very okay. All that the man used to do for the communities here, he's unable to do them again. We thought government support would rather help us.
Now, the African Peace Building Network and the Center for Social Policy Studies is urging African researchers to adopt the work of African scholars in their researches. This, the group said, will help the growth of the research space on the continent. The appeal was made at this year's APN Next Generation Regional Proposal Development Workshop in Accra. Here is the Program Director of APN, Cyril Obi.
What we want to do is to actually have impact on the quality of the knowledge that is produced by African-based scholars, and to be able to own African research and knowledge production. We also want to have scholars that are able to go out into the world and tell Africa's story from an African perspective. And the impact we want to see also is to be able to build the capacity of our scholars and transform their professional careers. So people come into our workshops, they leave completely transformed as scholars, they make new friends, they make new connections, they know more about Africa, they know more about research, the quality of their writing is strengthened, and they own their own research agendas. At the end of the day, the knowledge that they produce will impact the training of the next generation of African students. It would also help Africa with the kind of ways in which such knowledge can be used as inputs into providing better and more effective policies and also making African societies better.
Now, the Dean of the School of Communications and Information Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Akosua Kesebo-Adakwa, underscored the need for Africans to tell the African story in their research and writings.
We cannot have a continent where there's more written about us by others than we ourselves. There's just something not right about that, right? There's an African-American company that's FUBU, for us, by us. And we need to get ourselves to the point where when you take an edited collection on Africa, then the people who are talking about the things have a visceral connection to the place that can be connected back many generations. It's important for a whole host of reasons. It's important for symbolism. So one of the things you have to make sure you are doing, when you finish that reference list, you have to go through it and start marking yourself. This one, UK, that one, Switzerland, that one, Canada, that one, Germany, that one. And you yourself, if you can't get 25%, at least 25% of those references from the continent, you yourself, you mark yourself F and you start over. We have to cite each other. As you are sitting here, the names you mentioned, even I, a Ghanaian, some of your names I can't pronounce. How do you think people in the West are busy pronouncing your names and citing you?
Now, he was a king of the Ghana people at a time when the capital town of the Gold Coast was moved from Cape Coast to Accra in 1877. He refused to help the British to capture the golden stool of the Ashanti people. He was exiled to Elmina for 3 years, but the Ghana people refused to replace him. Now, he is Manche Taki Teria. But what do young Ghana people know about this king? In today's edition of Ghana Man series, Jojo Kobna put a spotlight on this king.
In the heart of Makola sits the statue of Manchetakitaria, overlooking the Rollins Park in Accra. Historians have described him as an illustrious king of the Ghana people. But what do young Ghana people know about this prominent king? I sampled some views.
Actually, like a Mancheni, but only like how been able to Mancheni.
Like a Mancheni, Nile Ekeganje, Ayawasu, Keba, Gankupanen.
Lele no go no go was.
Over any
Manchester ki ni leji kenklen Manchester ni wona yega ni akefagbe ni agbe awomia game le ameju omoshi ame le no gbe una me pa e Manchester ame gani ti ega no ko ba.
There you have it. Disappointing, isn't it? So I bring you some history about a king loved and revered by his people. I will tell the story with the help of historian at the Asrem Manche Palace, Reverend Dr. Jesse Ankra. King Takitaria was born in 1817 as Ni Kwashi Taria into the Ghana royal family of Tekochuruwe at Kinka. He attended the Wesley Methodist School. Prior to his installment, he was a successful merchant operating in several African countries.
Succeeding chiefs of Accra must learn from Manchetakitaria. He was educated. He worked as a merchant. And records show that he even went to Tamale, went to Sierra Leone, came to what today we call Ivory Coast to work. He crossed into what today we call Togo and even into Nigeria. He was working. He wasn't selling land. He worked. So we want chiefs to understand that even though they are chiefs, they must work. He encouraged people to be educated. So chiefs, learn from your old king.
In 1862, he ascended the Ghana throne, and soon after, he led his people to resist the British attempt at introducing taxes.
The British had to introduce a form of a tax. The king rose against the tax because if he owned the land and had given portions of the land to his own people to live on, and his people were progressing, expanding, and getting enlightenment, why should the Ghana people be made to pay taxes? Not to he King Takitaria, but taxes to the British. So he rose against this very thing.
King Takitaria felt the British were deceitful, so he vowed never to cooperate with them. The British wanted to capture the golden stool of the Ashantis. They wanted Manchetakitaria to contribute men to fight the Ashantis, but he refused.
The Ashanti stool, which is described as the golden stool, must be taken from the Ashantis so that the British could be in charge of this very stool. Already he had opposed most of the trickery advices the British were bringing in. And now you want to go into somebody's kingdom using him as the king of Accra to enter into Ashanti and take the Ashanti spirit. He said no, he will not permit that. And this happened during the administration of one of the governors called Governor Hodgson. Governor Hodgson.
To the Gold Coast governor, Sir Frederick Hodgson described him as an uncooperative king, so he was exiled to Elmina from November 1880 to March 1883.
For 3 years, 1880, he was in Elmina under house arrest. They kept him there, hoping and trusting that a new king would be put in place instead of King Takitaria.
The Ghana people refused to install another king. They waited until he was released.
But the resolved that they would not change Takitariwa. They wanted their king. If he would take 100 years to remain in Elmina, one day he will come back to take up his position. So the Ga people then realized what the British were doing.
When he was reinstated, there was great joy in Accra.
Melinia domoshi mashebo, Melinia domoshi mashebo, Kortele yake manche takiake mimbile. If you go, tell King Takitariwa that I give him my respect. Why? Because Takitariwa had been in exile in Elmina. So the male, the Ga people refer to chiefs as male. All along it was being sung. So when he was brought back from Elmina, these were the reigning songs on the beach.
So there are many things to know about Manche Takitariwa, but never forget that he encouraged Gans to take education seriously. Historians say during his reign, he supported the Basel mission to give his people vocational training. He resisted British influence, and some historians say it was during his reign that the Makola market was established. But that is another story to be told another day. His reign lasted 40 years. He died in 1802. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Now, Deputy Lieutenant to the His Majesty King Charles III, Nems Obunge, is urging Commonwealth nations in Africa to invest in youth as a sign of their commitment to peace. Now, the move, he said, will help contain and prevent various insurgencies occurring in some countries across the sub-region. Nems made a call in a service organized at the Ridge Church Accra on Sunday ahead of the commemoration of the Commonwealth Day across all the member states on Monday. My colleague James Kwesi Aveji was at the event and has come through with this report.
Starting in 1977, the Commonwealth Day is observed amongst all 56 member states every second Monday of March to commemorate the need for equity and peaceful coexistence. Ahead of a flag-raising event on Monday, the Commonwealth Mission in Ghana organized a memorial service at the Reed Church in Accra to deliberate over this year's theme, Forging a Sustainable and Peaceful Common Future. In his speech, Deputy Lieutenant to His Majesty King Charles III, Lieutenant Nems Obunge, underscored the need for member states to uphold the core values of the Commonwealth Charter.
And we have a responsibility to hold these core values, which I want to remind us of. And I took notes of them just to ensure I did not forget one of them. Democracy, human rights, international peace, tolerance, respect and understanding, freedom of expression, separation of powers, rule of law, good governance, sustainable development, protecting the environment, access to health, education, food and shelter, gender equality, importance of young people, recognition of the needs of the small states and recognitions of the needs of vulnerable states, and the last thing, the role of civil society. When we raise the flag all across every city in the United Kingdom, and we raise the flag here in this nation, and we raise the flag in other 56 member states, we pray for the peace across all our nations, because as one family, we owe it to ourselves to ensure the other is safe.
Lieutenant Nems also urged African leaders to encourage the youth to take up power in a bid to end the insurgencies across the continent.
Why is it that increasingly we only have leaders who are old in Africa? And so what happens is we've not empowered our young people to think that they can be leaders of nations, leaders of states, leaders of regions. So we need to reinvest in them and let the old folks start learning how to hand the baton over and empower the young people to be part of the conversation. But what should not happen is that young people run off without understanding the legacy of the old. There has to be a partnership between the young and the old, and being able to see that the future is a combination of the old and the new coming together to build a nation state all across the world.
Head of Mission of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, John Appiah, said the council is working on facilitating smoother trade of common goods between 21 African Commonwealth states and the UK. He spoke to JoyNews.
We're trying to match businesses together with strategic partners to see how they can grow their businesses. Businesses in Ghana and other African countries. You have Ghana, you have Kenya, you have Rwanda. Fresh flowers. You see fresh flowers in the UK, 90% are from Rwanda or Kenya. You see coffee from Rwanda. You see cocoa from Ghana. You know, we're creating markets for mango, for pineapples in supermarkets, all in the UK and other Commonwealth countries. And in our little way, at the micro level, that opens the door and promotes economic prosperity.
John Appiah noted that African states must encourage direct transit of goods and services amongst them to maximize the benefits of the African continental free trade area.
Let's say I'm even traveling to Sierra Leone or I'm traveling to Gambia. You'd be surprised sometimes I have to go all the way east or even go out of the country to come back in. If a country like DRC, for instance, if you're in the northern part of DRC, to get to the capital Kinshasa is easier to cross the border to Uganda and then take a flight into Kinshasa. Africa is not connected. So when I even buy a plane fare within Africa, the taxes I pay is more than me flying to the UK. We have to find out how we connect ourselves through infrastructure, through railways, through roads, and connect ourselves. Excise duty, see how we can reduce it to make it cheaper for me to sell tomatoes to Gambia than for the tomatoes to be shipped from India to Gambia. That is the key.
The week-long activities to commemorate the Commonwealth Day continues on Monday with the flag-raising ceremony in solidarity for peace and development. James Kwesi report, read to you.
Now, the University of Bochum, Germany, is calling on government of Ghana to help or support recyclers of electronic waste in the country to help reduce the impact of waste on the environment. Professor Engineer SMS Rangers, leader of a delegation to one of Ghana's pioneering electronic waste management companies, the Electro Recycling Ghana, believes a stronger collaboration between government and private companies in the sector will help solve the e-waste menace in Ghana. There's more in the following report. The Electro Recycling Ghana is a private company committed to materials. Nanaya Kunedu is the company's co-founder.
It's been a tough journey. We started the company 2019, I think March. And we rented this place. You know, Ghana here, when you rent a place, you need to pay a year, 2 years advance. And it's not a small money that we paid for this warehouse. So it took us 7 months before EPA gave us the permit to operate, but the rent was running. 3 months before 2019, or 2 months, where we are trying to have a shape to generate some funding, then COVID, I think 4 or 5 months later, COVID hit us. So again, we need to pay a year rent in advance without any revenue. We're ready to face the challenges, and I think the last 4 to 5 months, we have seen a very positive change. Also, the support that came from GIZ, I will introduce later, a very great support that helped us to generate another revenue for the company.
The company has had its works attracting foreign universities and organizations to study its model. One of such universities that has supported ERG since it began is Germany's Bochum University. Professor Engineer SMS Rangers is a professor at the university, and he says ERG has been impressive over the years. He wants government of Ghana to get interested in the work of Electro Recycling Ghana.
I'm very impressed what I could see here, so I believe that ERG is doing a pioneer job here in Ghana. It's a very important thing to do the right things in the right way, so I take it very serious as a strong contribution for sustainable development of Ghana, for getting the problem of e-waste solved. Yeah, I think the government should support that kind of initiatives, so strong collaborations also for knowledge transfer with German companies, with German universities, from practitioner side, but also from German companies and universities. I believe that the Ghanaian government already knows that this is an important topic and that they will support your activities.
GIZ e-waste program, an influential player in the electronic waste space in Ghana, wants government to implement policy that will help the management of e-waste in Ghana. Cornelia Stolzenberg is head of programs for the organization.
I think that Ghana has a real good policy available already with the Act 917 and the LI 2250, as well as the technical guidelines for the sector. I think they are well equipped with it. The challenge is sometimes the enforcement. And there, of course, a lot of actors have to come together to do that. And it's not just that, let's say, the EPA has to do it or the MMDAs have to do it. So there has to be a clear system how to implement the legislation. But the legislation is very, very good.
The Electro-Recycling Ghana has been successful with its unique TV product and is now completing a prototype electronic-powered bicycle to help reduce traffic in town. For JoyNews, Samuel Kojo Brace, Oyarefa. You're still watching JoyNews Desk. We'll take a quick break. We'll bring you business. Stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwa. We begin with the shipment of 600,000 barrels of Russian crude oil to Ghana and reaction from the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, which says that it does not affect that arrangement to affect trading with Ghana's international partners. Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, however, is asking the National Petroleum Authority to ascertain the source of the oil and ask government to tread cautiously.
In fuels trading, Russian cargo is not banned entirely. In fact, you can buy their cargo except that it has a cap of $60, meaning you shouldn't pay more for the Russian economy to be able to continue to fund the war. So buying cargo with Russia shouldn't be a problem. We are all for any way to get cheaper products if there's any such thing. We will be all for any way of getting much competitive prices on the market for the consumer if there's any such thing. There are regulatory issues. One, the refinery that is taking hold of the product is said not to have the kind of capacity to take that kind of volume. And questions are being asked as to how they intend to even do the processing and how to ease that also onto the markets. That in itself doesn't make it bad or criminal. Again, you also have a situation where questions are being raised about whether indeed it is crude or it is AGO contained in that vessel. Is it a combination of the two? Are we simply signing off for finished products to come into the system? We have requested the refinery in question their annual review fees. Does it take cognizance of such volumes? Because if you have BDCs to do that kind of trade, and then refineries are also taking stock of supposedly finished products, then it sends a wrong signal for business. And so a few issues around it, but generally, we don't have a problem if it is even Russian crude, because the international market is still patronizing. Europe can pretend not to want that crude, but once they trade with India, India is buying from Russia. So, inadvertently, they are still consuming that crude. And we believe strongly that if you were to knock out Russia completely from the international fuel supply market, prices could double overnight because their volumes are huge. 10% of global supply is something you cannot joke with. So whether we like it or not, the global system shakes off but still finds a way to accept Russian crude. We don't have a problem with it so long as prices are going to be competitive, so long as we are being told the exact truths and not that some people are playing, different trade games, bringing finished products and saying it's crude. If we are satisfied as a country that these are within our regulatory parameters, then the NPA will be in the right to give them the go-ahead to discharge.
But one may say we've seen 20% fall in their revenue. Now let's look at Ghana. One may say in the long term, this could cause a serious problem for Ghana and its trading partners in other parts of the country. I don't know if you side with them.
Well, the Russian product or cargo, I do not anticipate should cause a problem. Rather, it should stimulate the market. You should have a situation where, because their prices are hugely competitive and there's a cap on them, what you buy from other parts of the world might be slightly higher. And I will be all up for getting that cargo because, like I indicated, you can read about embargo on Russia and what sort of embargo that the West has placed on them. Their products are still on the international market and is being patronized by countries. So buying from them should not spark any diplomatic row, except that we should be sure that indeed, is it crude we are bringing in? Is it finished products? AGO, like we are being told in some quarters.
In other news, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization has announced a $3.9 million project to support micro, small, and medium enterprises in the agribusiness space here in Ghana. Here's more from the launch.
According to Marine Mizono, acquiring proper enterprise performance management skill is crucial to the sustainability of MSMEs and enterprises' growth, hence the need for the government of Japan to sustainably and continually improve quality and productivity of businesses in Ghana.
We have received in US dollars 3.9 million as a project fund, out of which we will be reaching out to, we're talking about hundreds of Ghanaian enterprises to provide support in terms of productivity management, quality management, resource efficiency. So the project, the main focus of the project is manufacturing sector, because this is where we can apply the enterprise performance management as well as Kaizen. And we particularly focus on agribusinesses because agribusinesses have a higher implication in terms of resource efficiency, environmental sustainability, and also the social development, because many of the enterprises, agribusinesses, are based not only in the city center, but are spread it into the rural areas. So the social factor is stronger in agribusinesses. So these are the main focus.
Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Kosi Yankee Aye, stated that the project is going to stimulate the national expansion drive for MSMEs with emphasis on production efficiency, food safety, and compliance to make them more efficient and competitive.
The Kaizen intervention is an intervention that was actually a concept that was designed by the Japanese to support manufacturing and businesses and industries. And what we've done over the past few years, over 7-8 years now, has been really implementing Kaizen in businesses across the length and breadth of the country. Now, over the years, we realized that there was a need to expand this intervention across the country and focus on agribusinesses and how to sustain those businesses. So this new project, which is funded by JICA and is being implemented by UNIDO and Ghana Enterprises Agency, is supposed to support these agribusinesses by providing them with the technical assistance and knowledge to be able to build their businesses. Alongside that is what they call the SSAB, which is a technology platform that would help businesses understand their productivity improvements based on the interventions that we provide for them.
The call for proposal for this program will be open until the 30th of April for the enterprises to apply. The selection will be duly conducted for the final nomination of the enterprises to be supported under the program.
And that's it for Business. News Desk returns after this break.
And that's our package for you today. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Grateful for your company. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Good morning.